This fool grabbed the cigarette, lit the cigarette, and just started smoking right next to me. You giving me secondhand smoke. Ain't that what's called? Secondhand smoke? This fool is literally speeding through the streets of Chicago like this is too fast, too furious. Be careful whose inbox you slide in. Okay, be careful whose inbox you slide in. Welcome back to my channel. Before I start, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Okay? Follow me on Instagram, Danipiink, Snapchat, Danipiink, and let's get into this video. Okay? I'm telling you guys about my worst dates ever. Like, this is the top worst date I've ever been on in my life. I'm almost 25, so yeah, this is the worst date I've been on. Hopefully this is the last worst date I'm gonna ever go on. I don't know, but yeah. So this is when sliding in the inbox goes left, or left, whatever. Basically, this dude, he had like added me on Facebook or whatever, and then I'm like, who is this? Like, who is this? Because that's always what I be thinking when I go through people's stuff, you know, like, that's just what it is. So I was like, who is this? Whatever. Went through his pictures. I'm like, oh, okay, looks nice, So I was like, okay, let me just like a few of his pictures. So I liked a few of his. I think he liked some of mine. I don't even remember, but a few days went by, and I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, a few days went by, and I was just like, I'm trying to remember what exactly I was thinking. I don't know what it was, but I think he kept popping up on my timeline, or I don't even remember, to be honest. But I was basically like, I'm just gonna message this dude because he ain't messaging me, so let me just message him. So I messaged him, and I was like, oh, you look kind of familiar, you know. Knowing he did not look familiar. I ain't never seen this dude dead in my life, but I was like, yeah, you look kind of familiar. Like, let me just try and make some conversation. So he was like, oh yeah, you do too, blah blah, where you from? So I was like, oh yeah, I'm from Chicago, blah blah. He said he from Chicago, and we just started talking, and then eventually I got his number or whatever, and we was like texting a little bit, but not like a lot. It was just like a little bit of texting, and he was FaceTiming me, but I didn't really answer. I think he tried to FaceTime me like twice. I'm not even sure. I think he called late one night. I don't even remember, but I just know I did not answer the phone. Like, unavailable. It was texting here and there. It wasn't like, oh, that constant texting all day stuff. It wasn't even that long into texting that I think he asked me to call him or something. The morning he texted me, and I think we was talking, and he was basically like, oh yeah, we should hang out and go out today or something. It was like on a Friday, I think. Yeah, he was like, we should like go out and hang out one day. So I was like, oh, okay. He was like, what you want to do or whatever. I'm like, oh, we can get food or whatever, like that, because you know, I love food. I'm a tourist. I love food. Name this dude, we gonna name this dude Tyrone. Like, he told me to call him. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I'll just FaceTime him or whatever. It was early in the morning. He was like, hello, and I'm like, hello. Who is this? And I'm like, Danielle. And he's like, okay, so what's up? You outside or something? Like, you outside, you trying to kick it, whatever? And I'm like, no, I'm just. He's like, wow. He was just basically, he said it like with an attitude, and I'm like, what do you got an attitude for? He was basically like, so what's up? Like, you outside, what you trying to do? Like, what you trying to do? And I'm like, so I instantly hung up the phone. I'm like, what is this energy that you're bringing? Why are you getting so hostile already? Like, we ain't even playing nothing. You up here getting an attitude for nothing. Like, what are you getting so upset for, sir? What is with the aggression? So, I literally hung up on him. Text me and he was like, why'd you hang up on me? And I basically was like, because what is with the attitude? Like, why do you got this weird attitude over nothing? Like, literally nothing. He basically was like, oh, I was in Dunkin' Donuts and I didn't have my phone. I left my phone in the car and I had my AirPods in, so I answered through my AirPods. And that's why I was like, who is this? And what was you trying to do? And blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, still, you don't need to talk to me aggressively, especially if I don't know you. What do you... Even if I don't know you... Oh my... So I'm like, still, like, what are you getting an attitude for? And then he basically, like, he apologized and he was like, my bad, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's a misunderstanding. Maybe he ain't that aggressive, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I even want to, because it don't take much at this point for me to just cut somebody off, especially if they showing signs of, like, aggression. I don't like that. Don't do it with me. Don't. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. So he basically was like, my bad, blah, blah. And he told me, he was like, yeah, I got a short patience. That's my downfall. Then I asked him, like, okay, so when's your birthday? Because that's what I be needing to know. And he was like, oh, it's in February. I'm like, beginning of February. I'm like, oh, now it makes sense. You're an Aquarius. We're not gonna get started. We're not even gonna get started on Aquarius people, but nothing against you, Aquarius, but we gonna bump head. I was just like, okay, I'll attempt to give this dude a chance. Maybe he ain't that terrible. Maybe he ain't as terrible as I think he is. He ended up FaceTiming me later when I was, like, basically dressed. And he was like, well, what you want to do, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, he wasn't really that bad then. So I'm like, I don't know. And that's when he suggested going to Hooters. And I'm like, I've never even been to Hooters, blah, blah, blah. And he was just saying he wanted Hooters. And mind you, he lives like an hour away from me. And we live like an hour away from each other. But that's not, if you from Chicago, it's like an hour away ain't really nothing. Like, it's literally suburb city. So driving an hour to the city, whatever. So basically he was gonna come out here to go to Hooters, but then he called them and they was like, oh yeah, they're not gonna have no tables till like 7. After that, he was like, why don't you just come out here? He was like, just come out here and we can go downtown and go get something to eat. Because the one downtown, they just let you come up in there whenever. So I'm like, I was just like, I don't know if I really want to go downtown. I basically didn't really want to drive out there, but I'm like, so we was on FaceTime talking about it, and he was like, because I'm paying for the food, ain't I? So you can come out here, we can just go downtown and get something to eat, like that. So I'm like, fine, I'll do that. Like, because I mean, we're going downtown, so we could do anything downtown in a way, because whatever. So I'm just like, okay, I'll come out there and we can go eat downtown. So that basically was the plan. So I drove all the way out there to his place, and then I pull up. He gave me hand sanitizer and he was like, y'all be, I'm just like, okay. I'm like, my hands not dirty because I don't touch nothing. I wear gloves whenever I do touch anything, and I'm even whatever. But I'm like, okay, whatever. So he shook my hand and he was like, my name, Tyrone. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, Danielle. Like, he started catching that attitude again. He's like, oh, you just not gonna shake my hand, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he literally was sitting there and he was looking for something. And I'm like, what are you looking for? He looking for his weed or whatever. Okay, I mean, okay, a lot of people smoke weed nowadays. Like, it's whatever at this point. It's legal in most places. Who cares? Do your thing. So I'm like, but if you know me, I do not drink. I mean, I drink occasionally, but I really don't drink, and I don't smoke at all. No. So, he was like, yeah, I'm finna, I looked at him, and he was getting his stuff, and I'm like, are you finna smoke? Like... And he was like, no, I'm just gonna roll it or whatever. And I'm like, okay. Like, so I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like, I'll just kind of let it go. Even though it was just like, why? But I was just like, whatever, I'm gonna just let that go. Because it's not that big of a deal. So then he gets to asking me like, what do I want to eat, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, and he was kind of catching an attitude over that. Like, he's like, so are you gonna talk? So then this is when he started asking me, it was kind of quiet or whatever, and he started asking me like, so you gonna talk or whatever? And I'm like, I'll talk if you're interesting, like, because I gotta feel somebody out before I'm completely like finna be really talkative. And with me, I couldn't really figure him out yet. So I was just like, let me just watch and observe, because that's what I do. So I'm just watching him, and he was like, so are you gonna talk? You kind of quiet, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'll talk if you're interesting. He's like, yeah, I'll talk, but I'm not finna be the only one doing all the talking. I'm not gonna be the one doing all the talking, blah, blah. Like, it is what it is, blah, blah. And I'm like, what is this little attitude thing again? Like, and I couldn't, and at first I'm like, oh, maybe he just playing, blah, blah. But then I'm like, wait a minute, this dude kind of serious, like. So I'm just like, okay. And that was red flag number 2 was right there. But let me continue, because it's gonna get worse. Whatever. He was just driving around some places asking me what do I want to eat, and I'm like, I don't know. And he started asking me a little bit of questions, and I started asking him. So, because I mean, I asked the usual stuff like, how long you been single? Do you got any kids? He was like, yeah, he got a kid, and he been single for like 2 months basically. And I'm like, yeah. And I asked him how long was the relationship, and he was like, yeah, it's been some time. So I'm like, not gonna deal with you then. And you only been single 2 months, and you've been in a relationship for some time, you better know. Like, sir, you're a no so far. You're a no. And then that little attitude with you, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing the little attitude thing. He's asking me what I want to eat and this and that, and I'm like, I don't know, because I really did not know what I want to eat. So then he was like, if you don't know what you want to eat and blah, blah. It just seemed like he was getting an attitude because I didn't know what I wanted to eat, because I wasn't talking so much right off the bat. And I was just like, whatever. So because he was seeming like he was getting an attitude because I didn't know what I wanted to eat, he had saw this jerk place, and he was like, I want jerk, but if you don't want jerk, then blah, 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 and this and that. And I'm like, whatever, we can get the jerk. Like, because at this point, you are a jerk, and I want to get away from you. So let's just get the jerk, so I can get away from this jerk that's next to me and getting on my nerves right now. Like, wait, I skipped a part. Let me rewind it. Let me go back. So, we driving downtown or whatever. All of a sudden, I see this fool grab the box of cigarettes he took the cigarette out and he started smoking the cigarette. Not once did this dude, not once, when I tell you, not one time did this dude ask me, did I mind if he smoked. This fool grabbed the cigarette, lit the cigarette, and just started smoking right next to me. Okay, so skip my health. Like, you up here doing hand sanitizer when I get in a car, but you lighting a cigarette next to somebody who don't even smoke. So you giving me secondhand smoke. Ain't that what's called? Secondhand smoke? You giving me secondhand smoke. The potential of giving me cancer, and you don't even care. Like, how? And when I tell y'all, I absolutely hate the smell of cigarettes. I don't care. I do not care. There's nothing in life that can make me love the smell of cigarettes. Cigarette smell is disgusting. I hate the smell of smoke. And I can tolerate the smell of weed. But the smell of cigarettes... Oh my God. I'm literally just sitting there like... You have got to be kidding me. Like, this fool is next to me smoking cigarettes. A cigarette. And not only did he smoke the cigarette, this dude grabbed the weed and started smoking the weed too. Not once did this fool ask me, like I said, he did not ask me, do I mind if he smokes? Which he knew that I told him I do not smoke. This fool lit the cigarette and smoked it. This fool lit the weed and was smoking it and was driving. And I'm just like, oh my. And that is why, now I think about it, that's what really turned me off, to the point where I was just like, I was getting annoyed when he was asking me about what I want to eat. And I wasn't really answering, and I wasn't really trying to be all open or whatever. Because after he did that, I was just like, ew. Like, how, one, you got a bad attitude. Two, you smoking right next to me, and you completely inconsiderate, and you're rude. And I'm just like, do you not have any freaking manners, dude? Like, what is wrong with you? Like... Yo, that really turned me off, and I'm just literally like, yeah, let's get the jerk so I can get away from this jerk who was smoking right next to me. And I'm literally like, the smell is all over me. And when I tell you, I look so cute. I look so cute, and I wasted a good outfit. I put on the new shoes and everything for this fool who's next to me smoking. Oh my God, I literally cannot. Like, I can deal with somebody that smokes weed, but they've never did it in front of me, around me. Like, they are literally, at least they're considerate enough to not do it in my face and make me smell it. And then it's like, it's the first date. What is wrong with you? Like, oh my Lord. Lord have mercy. Okay, so we get to the jerk place. I get to the jerk place with the jerk, and we go in to get the jerk. So he immediately like jumps in line, and I literally go over to the menu because I'm like, I never been here before. Like, you just want to jump in the line like I've been up in here before? Yeah, this fool goes to try and jump in the line. I go over to look at the menu, and at this point, I'm just like, I'm so annoyed. I'm texting people like, this date is terrible. Like, oh my gee. Like, we didn't even go to Hooters. We barely downtown anywhere. I mean, we in like Hyde Park or whatever. But yeah, I'm like, what is he over there trying to already order? And I'm looking at the menu. I'm like, this fool is rude. He been rude, but now he's even more rude. So we looking at the menu or whatever. I'm looking at the menu because I don't know what I want, because I've never been there before. I'm doing what a normal person does. So I'm looking at the menu and I'm like, I don't even eat jerk, but at this point, I'm gonna get some type. I mean, I eat jerk chicken, but I don't eat jerk like eat it. So I'm literally just looking at the food. I mean, looking at the menu, and I'm just like, I don't even know what I want. Let me just try and get something. And he was basically like, what you doing? Like, he walked back over to me. He's like, what you doing? You know what you want? Like, what do you want? You already made us miss our spot in line. Like, what you want? And I'm like, once again, this freaking aggressive, no patience attitude. Like, you already smoked in my face. You already get on my freaking nerves. And I'm just like, this fool got no home training. Like, I know. I'm like, I can't deal with no hood dude. This dude was way too hood. You're a little too hood of a dude. Like, I can't do that, sir. What is wrong with you, sir? Like, what is wrong with you? Jeez. So I'm literally just like, I literally was just like, I seen barbecue jerk dinner. So I'm like, I'll just get the barbecue jerk dinner or whatever. So we in line. I barely care to even stand next to this fool at this point. And then I'm literally in the back of my mind, I'm like, if pushing him to shove and he start getting annoying again, I'm gonna pay for my own food. Like, I do not care. I don't even like you at this point. Like, you're getting on my nerves. You're kind of annoying. I let him pay for it. So yeah, I mean, I let him pay for it because you're already annoying. You might as well pay for my meal at this point. So yeah, we get the food. They tell us 30 minutes. So I'm like, oh my Lord, 30 minutes with this fool. God. So we go back to his car and we just waiting up in there. I'm still not talking really because I don't want to talk to this dude. Like, you already made me very uncomfortable. And now you think I'm finna talk to you? And he was basically like, so why you come out? Like, you did this for a free meal. And I'm like, I can buy my own food. And he was like, that's not the point, blah, blah. So he get on the phone with his friends and they laughing about stupid stuff. And I just, at this point, I really didn't care. I'm just like, let me hurry up and get this food and let me just get back to my car. It's not even almost 9 o'clock yet. He's on the phone with his friends talking about he gonna come hang out with them and this and that. And I'm just like, whatever. And like, yeah, go hang out with your friends because I don't want to be around you. Like, they can want to be around you. I don't. Sir, I don't. So, yeah. We get the food finally 30-something minutes later. And we driving back to his place to get my car. So, we driving back and this fool is like speeding. And when I tell y'all, I've been in a car with people who, they speed or whatever and they don't. And I'm cool with it because, you know, I like when people drive fast. I know how they are. I know how certain people are when they drive fast. But this fool is literally speeding through the streets of Chicago. Like, this is too fast, too furious. For one, sir, do you know how messed up the potholes in Chicago are? And you speeding through Chicago potholes like this, too fast, too furious. And we in a movie. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're gonna mess this car up, sir. The potholes, that ain't nothing to play with. This fool is pushing the gas, acting like he in Too Fast, Too Furious. And for some odd reason, he had the music blasting. It's wrong with this fool. And he's literally just speeding and speeding. He got other cars racing against him. And I'm like, what is, like, in the way he was stopping, I'm like, I could have just flew right out the car. I mean, I've been in the car with people who spare and do all this and that, but they actually have like a, how do I put it? They actually have like a speeding car. Like, it didn't feel the way it felt with him. Like, with him speeding the way he was speeding, I was just getting like uneasy feeling. I'm like, what is wrong with this fool? Why is he speeding and pushing the gas and doing the most? I'm like, maybe he just upset because I really wasn't even talking to him. So at this point, I'm literally in my mind like, oh my God, please get me away from him. How far is his house from this restaurant? Please, dear Lord, get me away from this fool. Like, he did everything to turn me off. Normally, on the first day, you're supposed to be trying to make a good first impression. This dude was not trying to make no good first impression with me. Or maybe he just used to hood rats. That's what somebody told me. Maybe he just used to hood rats or whatever. He's not really used to actually trying to wine and dine somebody. But I'm just like, for Christ's sake, dude. Like, who have you dated? Who is allowing this? Like, And he literally was just speeding all the way till he got home. So we finally get to his house, and I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Because the whole time I'm just like, dear Lord, please just let me get back to my car in one piece. Just let me get back to my car in one piece. So yeah, we finally get to his place. He was like, so do you want to go up to my he was like, do you want to go in my house to eat, or we can sit in the car and eat, blah blah. And I'm like, no, I gotta go watch my nephew. Knowing that my nephew was all the way at his house and I did not need to watch him, but I needed to think of an excuse to get away from this food. So I'm like, yeah, I gotta go watch my nephew probably, but do you want to see which food is yours? So he literally gave me the food. No, he literally got his food out. He gave me my food. And when he was giving it to me, I had my phone in my hand, and he was like, I kind of almost dropped the food, but I didn't really drop the food. And he was like, dang, put the phone down. Like, you had your phone in your hand all day, blah, blah. So I'm just like, oh my God. Even when I'm leaving, you're freaking annoying. Like, stop it. So I literally was like, I got the food. I opened up the door, and I'm like, thank you. And I ran to my car, and I got out of the city as fast as I could, because he was so freaking annoying. I did not text him. I didn't send no I'm home text. I didn't care if he sent me a text. Nothing. Like, at that point, I did not care. And I'm like, this is literally the worst day ever. I wish I did not come outside that night. But I ain't gonna lie. One good thing did come out of this date. This horrible date. That food was the highlight of the night. That food was bomb. I will go back there. I will go back there to Uncle Joe's Jerk Hut, I think, in Hyde Park. If you in Chicago, if you from Chicago, you need that food. But yeah, I'm like, that was the only good thing he did that night, was take me to a good restaurant. So I'm like, okay, you know, it is what it is. At least something good came out of this night. Even though I got Chick-fil-A on my way home, because I wasn't sure if I was gonna like the jerk, but still, that's not the point. So all in all, this is my story about the worst date ever. When sliding in the inbox went completely wrong. Never again. Never again. Never again. Lord have mercy. I did talk to him the other day though, and that was it. I just left it at that. Like, I ain't got nothing against him. I just would never date him. Like, but he could be probably a cool dude to hang out with if I needed a hood dude around, like, just as a friend. But as far as dating him, no, I can't do it. So, sorry, Tyrone. Nothing against you, Tyrone. You probably cool. You just not the guy for me. Okay? Okay. So, yeah. That was basically the story about my worst day ever. Hopefully, I don't have any more anytime soon to tell y'all. But make sure that you like this video. Press the like button. Press the subscribe button. Comment some more video ideas you guys want me to do. Make sure that you follow me on Instagram, Danielle Lene, Snapchat, Danipiink, Twitter, Danielle Lene, and I will see you guys in my next video. Be careful whose inbox you slide in. Okay, be careful whose inbox you slide in. Okay? Okay. Bye-bye.